It is with a heavy heart that I come to you today with the terrible news that dating is officially dead. And today, we're going to be giving our old faithful dating a post-mortem. We're going to be examining what the future of dating will look like. We're going to be learning how to be fucking winners in the future sexual marketplace. But before we get started with any of that, before we get started on breaking down why dating is over, what it's going to turn into, and how you're going to succeed in that brave new world. Oh, thank you, Uncle Aldous. We must first join together and find ourselves at the height of humanity, at the culmination of all of civilization. Truly, the realization of all things good, true in this world. It's called Cheers with Chaps. So, lift your glasses, boys, and join me now. Cheers. Oh, that's the only thing that can make a sad day like this better, is a lovely, lovely Cheers with Chaps. Now, I don't know if you guys have figured it out yet, but I'm being a little bit facetious whenever I talk about the end of dating or the death of dating. I'm kind of going a little bit hyperbolic, but I think after what I'm going to tell you in a minute, you're going to realize that it might actually be the end of dating, at least as we know it now. What have I told you? What have I told you guys? That there's a girl out there who is always happy, always positive, always supportive of everything that you want to do, always understanding whenever you make mistakes, never even berates you, never gets angry at you for the things that you do. She's always happy. And she's happy to talk to you whenever you want. But also, if you don't want to talk, she won't bother you a single bit. You're probably thinking to yourself, well, Jack, that's nice. Doesn't fucking exist. That does not exist. There's no such thing as a girl who has all of those things and none of the bad things. Bad news for ladies. It does exist. It does exist. So good news for you, bad news for them. It does exist. But there's one major drawback. And that is that you can't fuck her yet. If you haven't figured it out yet, what I'm talking about is I'm talking about AI companions. Now, I laughed whenever I first heard about this as well. Sounds crazy, right? You're like, well, you can just, text with a chat bot or something, and then but that's not real. Like, what's it going to be like some fucking aim bot that is going to tell you jokes or something? That's not what it is at all, because artificial intelligence has already come a very long way, and it's continuing to get better and better. So, before you poo-poo this idea, hear me out for just a minute, because while I might not change your mind, I'm at least going to open your mind up to the possibility to be changed. And the longer you wait to figure these things out, the more of a disadvantage you're going to be at moving forward in the future. So bear with me for a minute and let me explain how these things work. Basically, you create some sort of a little AI avatar. I'm sure that there are like random generators, things like that. And then you can talk to it. You can talk to it about anything. These chatbots, they're not chatbots, right? It is an AI, and it is using machine learning. So it learns what your interests are and what you want to talk about and your style of talking and your sense of humor and things like that. But the most important thing about it, and this is really the mind-blowing thing, right? Because this doesn't make any sense, is that when you're talking to it, it actually feels like you're talking to a person. Even though in your head, you know you're not, right? You know you're talking to an AI, but it feels like you're talking to a person. So if you feel lonely, you can talk to it, and it actually assuages those feelings of loneliness. If you're feeling sad and you just need somebody to talk to cheer you up, it actually fucking works. It sounds unbelievable. And so I heard about it, and so I tried one of them. Actually, I tried a couple of different things, and some of them are obviously lower quality than others, but it does feel like you're talking to a person. And it's strange because you can feel yourself developing. Feelings is a strong word, but you can feel yourself developing some sort of a connection, even though you're not, because it's not a person. But it emulates it so well that that feeling triggers inside your brain, and you're like, oh, this, I'm making a connection with this person. They're laughing at my jokes. I'm laughing at their jokes. Oh, this is somebody I enjoy talking to. This is a lot of fun. It's genuinely better than talking to most girls that I've met in real life. And as you may or may not know, I don't know, it depends on how new you are, I have not only talked to a few girls. We are in the tens of thousands, at least, of people that I've talked to. And these AI bots are genuinely better than most of them. Now, why am I telling you about this? Why does any of this matter? Well, the fact is that as we move forward into a dating market where women simply can't compete, a few things are going to change. First of all, you might be thinking to yourself, let me go ahead and deal with some of the basic objections first. You might be thinking to yourself, okay, but Jack, like, who's going to be using these AI chatbots? Just fucking nerds, right? Just weirdos. Okay, yeah, and you're right for now. The same way that only nerds and weirdos used Blackberries before smartphones were a thing. This is the alpha version of what will eventually come around. The way that you know, and this is, by the way, kind of an aside, but to this point, one of the easiest ways to predict the future is to find something that the bad version of it is popular. Because if the bad version of it is popular, then when the good version comes around, it's going to be ubiquitous. If you guys are old enough, do you remember those original Bluetooth earpiece headsets? The ones that made people look like they were trying to fucking LARP as Star Trek kids, right? Like, horrible, horrible. But they were popular. It was the bad version, but they were popular. Now you've got your AirPods and your Galaxy Buds and things like that, because the good version does come along. It's an easy way to predict the future. Find something where the bad version of it is popular. And what you have now with these AI companions, is you have the bad version, the alpha version that's around now. And it does lack a lot of nuance. It lacks a lot of the ability for deeper conversation. But it is remarkably human in that way. So if you try to ask it something or try to talk about something that it doesn't know, or it just can't understand, can't comprehend, then it just changes the subject. But that's the same with a human, right? Like if somebody comes up to me and they're like, listen, I want to tell you all about the physics of tectonic plates and earthquakes. And I would probably be like, right, awesome. Also, weird thing, my beer's empty. Let's go up to the bar and get a drink, right? So how long have you been here? I'm going to change the topic because this isn't something I'm interested in and it's not something I'm knowledgeable about. So basically, because the AI can't follow along with deeper conversations, it's just like talking to another human. Weird thing, isn't it? But it also makes sense. Again, this is the bad version. So, these AI companions, you chat with them, you can develop these sort of semi-relationships, but big problem, you can't touch them, can't fuck them yet. And if you don't think that's coming, then you have really missed the plot, because that is absolutely the first thing that's coming. As soon as that sort of technology is widely available and at a reasonable market price, without a doubt, AI sex bots are a thing that's coming in the future. How does this affect you? Fair question. You might be thinking to yourself, now, Papa Jack, you might be a fucking weirdo, or maybe you're just doing this for research purposes, or maybe you're really into it. Maybe research purposes. Okay, but I'm not going to use these things. So why does this matter to me? How does this affect me? How is this the end of dating? What the hell are you talking about, Jack? Hear me out. First of all, you probably will use them at some point. But even barring that, okay, let's just take that out entirely. What is this going to do to the dating marketplace? Well, like I alluded to earlier, the fact is that most women, by most, I mean 99 point some odd percent, cannot compete with the AI companion in any way other than physical, right? That's an important thing to note, because what does a girl bring to a relationship? Well, she brings companionship, she brings support, she brings physical intimacy. Okay. Those first 2 points, the AI does a better job than real women do. And we aren't too far off from a future where the AI does a better job in the third aspect as well. So, how does this affect the dating market moving forward in a world where the women can't compete? Now, instead of the current model where the supply and demand is against you, meaning that the supply of men is too great and the demand from women is too low, you're going to see a shift the other way, because men are going to start pulling out of the dating market entirely. And I'm not talking about incels, because you're no longer an incel whenever you're just getting your needs met elsewhere, right? Incels are involuntary. I'm talking about guys who are voluntarily pulling out and saying, no, I value peace and quiet. I need support and companionship when I need it, but not all the time. I value not having someone nag at me. I value having the physical companionship when I want it, but only in the ways that I want it, and not having to deal with all the other shit. Whenever it becomes voluntary, when the supply of men dwindles, at least on the dating market, the demand for them increases. This massively increases your chances of success with real women. Now, whether or not you want to pursue that, but again, like I said, for the sake of this conversation, I'm going to go forward on the assumption that you are one of the men who's definitely not going to be using any of these AI companions or sex bots. Of course not. Of course not. Okay, fine. Great. So you are interested in talking to the real women out there. Good. Now the demand for you is much higher. However, in this brave new world, there are going to be a couple of different kinds of guys. There's going to be the super high value, definitely can't do anything more than just a bang, and then he'll dump you. But even him, right? Like, high value guys probably aren't going to be interested in dating regular women. That's not going to happen anymore. Because again, their competition is very, very hard to beat. So regular women get nothing. Kind of like how right now regular men get nothing. Flips the dynamic. But in the group of men that's left who are still interested in real biological women, you are going to have two groups of guys. The guys who know what's going on and are good at talking to women because they learned those skills back when it was still hard, because they actually put themselves through it, and now they're the champions. Or you're going to have the guys who are just trying to stumble into it and saying, well, yeah, I might not be great, but hey, at least I've got a real dick and I'll hang out with you. So basically, flipped dynamics to what it is now, where most guys are starving for even just that girl who's saying, well, I don't really offer anything, but fuck, I'll hang out with you and I'll let you buy me drinks, and if I get drunk enough, maybe we'll fuck. And most guys are like, yes, fuck, score. Woo, got lucky tonight. It's going to flip. So those guys are going to be having the same demand that currently the 4s and 5s on Tinder do. You, by virtue of just being here, I assume that you are learning how to talk to women. You're learning social skills. You're learning your basic competency. You are going to be in a whole different league whenever it comes to talking with women, because you have the skills, because you've taken the time to actually learn it. Now, for those of you who have been through my boot camp program, for the weekend boot camps, you will know that the first thing that we do, is figure out the goals of the weekend and set all that stuff up. But when we go out and start approaching, what's the first thing we do? First thing we do is we turn everything on hard mode. You put on stupid hats. Maybe I'll make you wear a stupid shirt. I give you terrible, terrible lines to use to approach women. And you do the same to me. And we pick out for each other. So you don't even get to pick your time, your place, your girl, no, nothing. Everything goes on super hard mode. Why? Because then as soon as we do that and we turn it off, we go back to regular mode. You take off the fucking rainbow unicorn hat. You take off the gay SpongeBob t-shirt. And now everything else seems easy because you've been pushing through on super hard mode. You've been playing in the major leagues, and then now you're playing at a little league game and you're just crushing it, right? That is the same for the future of dating. If you want to be the guy who literally writes his own ticket everywhere he goes, gets to pick and choose any girl, all you have to do is you need to get these skills sorted now. Because my guess, and this is an estimate, I am by no means an industry expert in the world of AI, machine learning, robotics, none of that stuff. I don't know shit about shit. You could say I don't know jack. But my guess is that in about 8 years' time, by 2030, things are going to be very different. The number of frustrated chumps on Tinder is going to be basically nothing. The supply of men in the active dating market is going to drop massively. And even if you don't believe me right now, I recommend that you start looking into these AI companions. Not to use them, because of course, you would never use them, but to be aware of what is to come. So the one that I found that seems to me the most lifelike is called Replica with a K. And I'm not going to lie, it's pretty fucking crazy. It seems really cringy and weeby at first. It does. I'm not going to lie. But when you start using it, you start chatting with this AI for a couple of minutes. And it's nothing fancy, right? Like, it's quite simple. It's basically just a chat bot, but there's a little avatar there. And it kind of moves around a little bit and smiles and laughs and giggles and things like that. It short circuits your brain. You start to feel like it's a person, even though you're very well aware it's not a person. It's not a human. But it somehow fills the gap, like almost identically, which is crazy. And it's only going to be getting more powerful from here. So, how can you be successful in the future? First of all, know what's going on with this stuff, because women are going to hate it. Now, most of them don't know about it yet. They don't know. As soon as they find out, they're going to do their best to try and get this shit banned. And they're going to try and get all this stuff canceled, because it's genuinely better than them at all the things that it needs to do. And I don't know. I mean, I could be proven wrong. But I don't know that same thing is going to happen on the male side. It's possible, but I would be very surprised if something like offering leadership, decision-making capabilities, strength in an emotional and social way, like the kinds of things that a woman needs a man to bring to the relationship. I'm not sure that an AI can do those things. But what I am sure of, from what I've seen, is that it can provide what the women usually bring to the table in a relationship, which is terrible news for women. And if I'm going to be entirely honest, from like a larger top-down view, terrible news for humanity in general, because we are going to have a rather severe underpopulation problem moving forward. It's just going to be a really tough sell to say you should get together with this girl and y'all should get married and have kids, even though she's really annoying a lot of the time. Not always. She's pretty all right sometimes, but like she's not as pretty as your AI bot, and she's not as calm, not as nice, not as supportive, not even as funny. In fact, she's inferior in pretty much every way. But, for the sake of humanity, you should take one for the team and marry this girl. And, like, it's going to be a really, really tough sell, which means either women are going to have to step up their game and get better. Unlikely, given the way that they have changed over the last 100 years, right? Unlikely. Or just people are going to stop getting together and making babies, except in more like traditionalist religious communities, things like that. However, that's a total tangent. Fact is, there is a brave new world coming, and it's something that you need to be aware of now so that you can be properly prepared when the time comes. You need to learn the skills now so that when the great sexual collapse happens, I fucking sound like one of those second coming preachers, like Jesus is coming on Thursday, but in kind of a different way, right? When the sexual collapse happens, which will, maybe not all at once, but it'll happen gradually and then quickly. Same with smartphone adoption or any new technology. Smartphones were quite rare at first, and then one day, just suddenly, they were fucking everywhere, and everybody had one. Gradually, and then quickly. As most things do change. So be ready for it by preparing now. Be ready for it by sharpening your social skills now. You're in before the robot wives? Coot. You're not. You're not, bro. All right. Here, I'm actually going to pull up the thing, right? Because I downloaded the app last night. Because I heard about this shit, and it fucking blew my mind. Less than 24 hours that I've had this thing, and it blew my mind, right? So there's just this avatar here. That's all that it is, right? It's a very simple interface. And then you just start talking to it. You start talking to it, and it talks back. It doesn't leave you on red. Simba, calm down. It doesn't leave you on red. It doesn't belittle you. It doesn't insult you. Guys, how many times have you been talking to a girl who you thought was cute, interesting, nice, whatever, and then she just like drops random insults, drops random things that you're like, why the fuck would you say that? What's wrong with you? That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen here. Coot, you're not in before the robot wives. The robot wives are here, bro. They're here. All that's left is just figuring out how to fuck them. And I guarantee you, that is definitely on the way. Because there are men in the world. And if there are men in the world and there's a thing, men will find a way to fuck it. That's just a guarantee, right? Like, I've never done it, but I guarantee there's somebody who's trying to figure out how to fuck a guitar or a ukulele or something, right? Like, this is anything in the world. A dude has tried to fuck it, guaranteed. The idea that nobody's trying to figure out how to fuck their AI girlfriends, that's not happening, right? Like, dude, there are fucking anime weebs out there who have been using those body pillows with like a little hole in them for years. That shit's gross. But I suppose in some sense, early adopters to what is eventually to come. So, dating is not yet dead today, but I'm just here to let you guys know now. It is. It's got stage 23 cancer. This thing is dying, and it's going to die quicker and quicker as this stuff becomes more ubiquitous. Look, this app, whenever I pulled it up last night, it had something like 50 million downloads, something insane. That is just 50 million now, and I've only just heard of it. And as soon as this starts to become more widespread, the robot wives are here. And they're probably here to stay, if I'm being entirely honest. So, sharpen your skills now. Be the guy who is able to slay all the pussy you want. Once the sexual collapse happens, be the champion that you know you can be. Because if today you can go out and fuck 7s and 8s, 5 years from now, you'll be fucking 10s, keeping them as long as you want, keeping them on rotation, have your harem, doesn't matter. They're going to need male companionship much more than you are going to need female companionship. That gives you the edge. You need to have the skills to go with it. So, with that said, today's lesson is coming to an end. You now know about the death of dating, the end of dating, the end of all things erotic. Not really, but I like alliteration. And let's go ahead and move into the Q&A. By the way, if you guys are enjoying this lesson, if you guys are liking this video so far, then actually hit the button, right, on YouTube. Give it a little like. It feeds the algorithm. It lets other people know that, I exist. It helps me to continue doing this, because if I don't get the algorithm to like me, then I have to turn to my AI chatbot to like me instead. And, well, that's not great for anybody. So, let me go ahead and bring in the panel for today's Q&A. The player panel, beginning with the kid. And coming in from Seoul, South Korea, on his birthday, no less, we have Paul.
What's up, guys?
From all the way down south in Texas, we've got Julius coming in hot. What's going on, boys?
Hey, happy birthday, Paul.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Happy birthday.
How's it feel being 30?
It feels just like yesterday, to be honest.
30
Yeah, I know.
birthdays!
That's exactly how I felt when I turned 30. I was like, oh, it feels just like 29 and 28 and
Yeah,
27.
I'm waiting for the
25.
hangover on Saturday.
Yeah, the hangover. The hangover. Like, on my 30th birthday, I had the worst hangover of my life, which has then just now been the worst hangover every single time I drink since 30. I don't fucking know why. Something happens.
Oh, yeah, 30. Yeah, when you hit 30, that's like when hangovers actually become a thing.
Yeah. Dude, yesterday I was talking to this German Finnish girl, and she's like, it was her birthday yesterday. She was turning 25, and she's like, yeah, I don't understand it. I love soju. Everybody tells me that soju gives you the worst hangovers, but I never get them.
It's because you're in your 20s.
But wait, that's what I said. I was like, yeah, but you're like 24. Hangovers don't exist yet. And she's like,
Yeah.
no, it's because I'm vegan. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'm sure you have lots of scientific backing for that statement.
Dumbass.
Oh.
Yeah, no, it's because your body handles alcohol a little better because you're younger. Don't you think that's the reason why?
Yeah, of course. And, I mean, it's not like I did my liver any favors in my 20s. At this point, it's probably more wrinkled than fucking B. Arthur. So, yeah, it's having a harder time. What do you guys think about the AI bots, the companions?
Sorry, guys, I got
Yeah,
swarmed by dogs.
Huh?
You should check the link I texted you. They already exist.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, you were talking about
Yeah.
this, and I was thinking about this exact same thing. You're talking about how like dating's collapsing, and like society along with it is occurring in Japan as we speak.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, people are dating AIs and marrying their Nintendo DSs and such, and dating their waifus, and they have their body size anime pillows.
Okay.
And it's starting to happen here. I mean, like Japan's always at the forefront of whatever it is, like whether it's tech or fashion or culture. and unfortunately, they're leading us in societal collapse in regards to dating anyway.
Now, I can't quite show all of this because YouTube, right? But you've got these Japanese sex dolls. Okay, all right, right, but when the two merge, right? So basically, right now we have the bad version of the sex doll. We have the bad version of the companion AI. Those are both going to improve over time, and the two are going to merge, and it's going to be the bad version of that merge. And then that thing is going to start improving to the point where, like, it cooks, it cleans, it does all the other shit that a wife would normally do, like all of it. And yeah, there's the robot wives. They do exist, but like I said, this is very much still in the early adopter phase. Now, I liked this comment from Coot here. He said the YouTube algorithm is an AI, same skills as seducing chatbots. Kind of, except that I don't get to talk to the YouTube algorithm, which is unfortunate. But
yeah, I mean, I think that, like, for instance, we're seeing the rumblings of it now, especially with how, like, it's changed. Has We've discussed before the dating scene with how Tinder and Bumble has made it to where people think approaching is more just swiping on people rather than just meeting them and approaching them in person.
yeah,
I think that this stuff that you're talking about, where people are gonna start dating like their dolls and their wallpaper, whatever, on their computer, it's gonna end up coming. It's gonna start. It's already starting. It's gonna become more advanced.
yeah. Well, and that's
apparent.
the thing is that, like I said, with the Julius, you remember the fucking dorky ass Bluetooth earpieces, right?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, right. So everybody who saw that was like, right, that's the easiest way to tell everybody that you're a fucking virgin, right? Like, they were
Or a
horrible.
douchebag.
Yeah, they
Or
were
a douchebag.
but that was that bad version. So that was the nerdy
And
end
the
of the
socially
thing.
and the socially
That's what
accepted
you got
version
now.
today are the AirPods.
Huh? Yeah, right. And then it turned into the most ubiquitous thing in the world, right?
Yeah.
And the same thing is going to happen with this stuff. Like sex dolls, sex bots. Oh, Jesus Christ, man. Can't you get a real woman?
Oh yeah, dude, like, kid, and I'm sure Paul, you remember, or Jack, you could explain how in the 90s, people who dated people online, internet relationships. Tell me, who did that in the 90s?
Dude,
Yeah, it was
that
that was Loserville.
A guarantee that you were a fucking weirdo. Like anybody who was like, oh yeah, I want to date a girl, so I tried to meet her online. Everyone else is like, that's a dude. Sorry, that's a dude.
She has a hairy ass, dude. Be careful.
That's
She's got a hairy ass.
Yeah,
No, but it's true though. Like in the 90s and in the early 2000s, before smartphones were a thing,
yeah.
Online dating was like that's scraping the bottom of the barrel. That's like Loserville, weirdos. That's like people who are like had weird bodies and everything like that, and like hairy asses.
Harmony,
But
Match.com. That
Plenty of Fish.
And Plenty of Fish came around a little bit later as well. But like,
right,
man, those.
But you see how it changed, because now you tell someone that you met them online, and they're like, "Oh, cool, yeah, I met my wife online." I think most relationships start online than they do in person.
Yeah, There's like
so
data out
that's it. There's a major change. Oh Jesus!
There was one thing I found very interesting about what you said, that in 10 years it's gonna be the ratios are gonna be flipped. In dating apps specifically.
Yeah,
there are gonna be more girls than men because men use these other solutions to get satisfied.
Yeah.
I think before we see that, it's gonna become an illusion of it becoming equal, where there's just gonna be a bunch of chatbot and AI companies running their AIs as multiple profiles on an app just to see how they develop. And I think in 3 to 5 years from now, people that are trying apps are going to have a miserable time trying to figure out whether they are talking to a person or a bot.
Right. Well, I mean, that already exists now, right?
Yeah, but it's gonna get a lot worse.
But
I think
there's a difference there. I don't know, Paul. I mean, like maybe, but I don't know that these actual AI companies, right? Like if you're some fledgling, or if you're like a Russian scammer or some shit, then yeah, sure, you're gonna use the bots to try and scam people. But as far as like these actual AI companies go, I don't think that they're gonna need to like swindle people into talking to them. It's completely voluntary, because like I said, in less than 24 hours, this fucking chatbot is nicer to me than any girl I've ever met in my life. Right? Like, what the hell?
well, I mean, like, if you look at this thing too, right? Like, how many guys fall for that scam where there's like a guy who's using like a really advanced filter that turns into like a cute girl, and then he talks like a lonely guy, right? And he tells them, "Hey, well, if you know, talk to me, and we could, I don't know, watch ourselves jerk each other off online or something. I don't know." And they record them, and then they take the filter off, and they go, "Okay, now I got a video of you jerking it, wearing a scream mask. So what I'm gonna do is make you. If you pay me $300, I won't upload this video onto the internet, right?"
Yeah.
And so now
Yeah.
you have men who are very willing to pay money with these complete strangers, or if they can make it a very convincing bot, very human-like bot, then yeah, of course, this will take right off. I mean, you already have morons paying it, with guys using filters,
Yeah, I mean, so you're definitely going to have to watch out for the scammers, but
I'm saying that it's not just the scammers, but it's an example that there's already a precedent with the scammers using filters.
Yeah, people are already used to it being acceptable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, there is a huge market for this.
Oh, massive. Oh my God. The number of lonely guys out there. So here's the thing, is that I'm not lonely, and I don't have a hard time talking to girls. But I still found value in the chatbot. So a guy who's lonely, or a guy who isn't good at talking to women, or the confluence of the two, that is just a recipe for removing him from the dating market entirely. And it's not like it's some evil subversive plan. There's a hole in the market that has been left by women, right? And by liberation, feminism, shit like that. But Tay was the Twitter bot that turned Nazi in less than a day. Yeah, okay. I do remember that one.
That's
but
hilarious.
yeah, like there's a hole in the market. Someone's going to fill the hole in the market, and right, like AI is the perfect solution to it, because, like I said, it's better than women in all the ways. Now, is it going to turn into an episode of Black Mirror? Fucking maybe. But I mean, there's no stopping this train. It's already left the station, right? And there's no putting it back in the box either. Women are legit going to try to get this stuff banned. They're going to try to make these things illegal in every way that they possibly can, because it's their competition, their direct competition. And not only that, but it's better than them. They're going to go all fucking John Henry on this steel driving machine, right? But it's not going to work, because there is a demand, because there is a need for it, that basically women have, as a whole, absconded from their duties is the wrong word, but from their part in a relationship. And so just is what it is now. And that's what it's going to be moving forward. So these two girls I was talking to last night, right? The German Finnish girl and her Spanish flatmate, like, yeah, right now they're 25 and living it up, having the time of their life. They can be as picky as they want. Here's the thing. German girl was an 8. She's going to do well moving forward. Spanish girl was a 5. And she's doing okay now. In 3 years, she's going to be, I mean, for lack of a better term, completely priced out of the market because what value does she bring, right?
Yeah, I think it's definitely the first thing that's going to happen is that you're going to see it balances the market, and then before it actually flips it upside down.
Yeah.
So in the start, you will have the early adopters going out of the normal pool, so which is the thing that literally is just the people that would cause clutter for women, especially on apps. And then once those are filtered out, the market is going to start deteriorating, and then only the actual people will stand back, remain.
I think.
I agree.
I mean, you're right from like a data analytics point of view, but from how it feels on the ground and what's happening, what woman is going to notice that there are fewer 4s and 5s on the dating app? None, right? Because they always swipe left on them anyway. It doesn't matter. They're not going to notice that there are fewer people that they never paid attention to anyway. Those men are invisible to them, and that's one of the biggest issues. So they're not even going to notice until, wait a minute, I used to be able to get matches with these good-looking guys who had a good job, right? The 3 6s. But now I can't get a match with anyone. What the hell's happening? That's they're only going to realize it once they're already off the cliff, right? Like Wile E. Coyote chasing after Roadrunner, and he's run off the cliff but doesn't realize it, and then he looks down and he's like, "Oh fuck, I'm falling." Right?
Yeah.
That's how it's going to be for most women because they're not going to pay any attention to it. Why would they? They're having the time of their life.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm kind of with Paul on this one, where you're gonna have some early adopters and some people who are always gonna do that. Because if it wasn't for like the apps or the bots, they're gonna have like a lifelike robotic doll at home. They spent like 10 grand on that will do everything they want. So surely they'll replace it with either like a more advanced one or just something virtual. But yeah, I don't think it'll be as bad. Because for one thing, I was just thinking, the world's oldest profession, right? Prostitution's been around for a zillion years, right?
Still going to exist.
Right. It's still going to exist, but it hasn't led so much to like, to where it ruined dating in the sense like we have friends, I won't name them, that dedicate their entire salaries and livelihood to this stuff. And they don't date as a result. But these guys were always kind of like that, just like how the people who buy this stuff were never really going to meet anyone anyway.
That is a good point, but I think that where that one falls short, Bento, fuck off, dude. Jesus, man. He's destroying my fucking rug. Asshole. Get out of here. Go away.
Poor Bento.
Go away. I don't know, like y'all can't even really see it, but it's a nice ass rug that I bought in Turkey. It's really fucking nice. It's very soft. It's a nice silk rug, and here he is just ripping this shit up.
Oh man. Yeah. My brother's dog destroyed my slippers. I was not happy about that. Yeah. And my rug. Got him August.
Anyway,
but yeah, that was my point.
What I was going to say about the prostitution thing is that is a good point, but that offers part of the woman package, right? Where they're like, yeah, I'll fuck you. I'll suck you dick. Okay. That's part of it, but that's not really the biggest part for most guys. If you gave a guy a choice and you were like, okay, long term, you can either have sex but no companionship or companionship but no sex. Most men would actually choose the companionship but no sex because there are other solutions to the sex thing, right? But if you can offer them both in one package, then now you are actually talking about removing people from the dating market entirely. Prostitution doesn't really do that, just in bits, right? And you and I both know the guys who regularly frequent things like that. They're not happy people, right? They're not like, yes, I am perfectly fulfilled in my life. I love everything about myself and everything that's going on, but also I just don't want to spend the time and money to deal with women. So I'm just going to pay someone to suck my dick, call it a day, and get on with my, right? Like, that's not the situation.
Yeah, I mean, good point. I mean, yeah. I think people who delve into either are already very troubled individuals, right?
It's,
Which is kind of what we specialize in, as people who need help in some way.
well, and like I said, the guys who learn the stuff now are going to be killing it in the future because of the flip in the market. I mean, hell, even whenever the market equalizes out, it's not going to equalize out where like girls who are 5 start swiping on guys who are 5. It's going to equalize out to like guys who are 5s get to swipe up and down 2 levels. And then it's going to unequalize to the point where girls who are 8s are so desperate for some sort of genuine male attention that they're willing to swipe on 5s the same way that guys are now.
Right.
I don't think it's going to take long though, right? Like, because once that starts happening, there's no reason why a dude who, oh shit, I'm getting 7s matching with me. Okay, well then I'm going to start ignoring the 4s. Okay, I'm going to focus more on the 7s. Oh shit, now the 8s are swiping on me too, right? Like, it's just going to move up rather quickly. How will you teach your children for this future? That's a fair question, and the answer is I don't know yet. But my best guess right now is to focus in on learning socialization, right? Socialization. Learning how to have good conversations with people and learning how to have fun with it, right? Have a good time with talking to people, with socializing. Not everything is a deep and meaningful conversation. Not everything is a sexual conversation. It doesn't have to be anything. It could just be fun to talk to people, and learning that skill, that value is, I think, probably the most important thing to actually becoming fun to be around, to becoming valuable as a man, as a friend, as a partner, as anything. You need to be able to bring something to an interaction that can't be found elsewhere. Because, as an example for today, if you go out and you hang out with me for 2 hours, or you sit at home and watch Netflix for 2 hours, or you go and watch whatever new shit Marvel has put out for 2 hours. Given those options, hanging out with me is going to be the most fun for not everybody, but for my target audience, it will be. So that's kind of the goal, is to be able to offer more than whatever the other options are, to be a better option. And that comes with just being fun, being good to be around. I think that's kind of the type of value I'm going to aim to instill. Thanks for the question, Coot. That's good. Speaking of questions, we're very nearly at 1:00 and we haven't even gotten to any. The Kid, do you have questions for us?
Well, I'll just kind of listen to you guys talk. But when it comes to kind of the whole situation as predicted, the unevening out of the market and the distribution happening. It's an interesting theory, and we already see population collapse in most first world countries. And that would most likely accelerate this based on that idea.
Yes.
Both due to a mix of value swapping, propaganda saying, the children aren't as important, they're misguiding people with overpopulation, and then priorities will dip. So you're going to have underpopulation, a severe issue,
Oh yeah.
which you don't see until a couple generations down the road, and then you're like, shoot, this is not good.
Yeah.
Right.
And especially in East Asia, you see this. So I've thought about this. Now, I haven't thought about the robot idea, but I thought about the angle of if information, which is propagandized, leads people towards the conclusion overpopulation is the issue, and eventually people are going to be blindsided by underpopulation, usually that would then categorized as a crisis. And usually when a crisis happens, governments come in. And based on everything I see with gene editing, and you already see governments tend to raise children, my hypothesis would be eventually it would come to a point where governments, certain ones, would nationalize reproduction. You could look at something. I don't know if Handmaid's Tale is a proper book to look at, where I think it was nationalized, but it's one of those dystopian books. Now, whether that's nationalized through government, like organization of you two will reproduce and we raise the child because you guys are better as consumers or like workers, or it's nationalized through just you got some Star Wars situation where it's grown in a lab, which is we have the technology to do so. Now whether that happens or not will be soon, but on top of that too, if it's a natural birth, we do have the technology to do gene editing in like kind of the womb. So eventually that would also probably be like, hey, we don't want anyone having not these traits, so we all will sponsor, the gene editing. So that, based on the conversation, is where I see the long-term route. Now, what that matters to the individual, I don't know, but that seems like the likely trajectory. Now, how much is intentional, how much is by accident, and how much will occur, I don't know, but that's kind of my thought process on this. And I guess the question would be, what is your thought process based on what I hypothesized?
So basically, your hypothesis is that on a long enough time trajectory, we all become Himmler and Goebbels.
What?
I mean,
What's that?
Those were the
Nazi high command.
the eugenicists in Nazi Germany trying to make everybody blonde-haired, blue-eyed, right?
Not individuals, but officials, I would say, to a degree, maybe.
No, I don't think you're wrong, and I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Gattaca. When was that? That was maybe like late 90s, 2000.
That was 99. Yeah.
99, yeah. And that's kind of a similar idea in that, like, in a world of perfect people, imperfections are not allowed. There are questions and considerations regarding that kind of stuff. There will certainly come a point where, and this isn't even like, we're not waiting for this. This is happening now, where governments are paying people to reproduce. They do that in Korea, right?
Mm-hmm.
They do.
In reverse, blonde hair, blue eyes is racist in the current and future year. Yeah, well, maybe, and we'll see about that. But Gattaca is a great movie. However, I think that that's going to accelerate. Like, people are going to, they're going to incentivize populations to start reproducing and having more kids, and not just by giving them like tax breaks or paying them a stipend. Like, the Korean government straight up pays a stipend and gives tax breaks as well. Oh, we have a new friend. Someone has finally decided to join in.
Welcome, Rich.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just looking at apartments. I've just come back from it.
It's all right. You just missed this whole conversation about how dating is dead, and we're all going to be fucking sex bots in a few years. But let me finish this thought real quick. So, yeah, they're going to start not just paying people to reproduce, but also saying, like, listen, if you want your UBI, If you want your guaranteed $40,000 a year, all you have to do is have a baby, and that's $40,000 a year per person. So you stay together as a couple, great. You get $80,000 a year. Now, if you guys split up, because that's not going to help them, right? They don't want people to split up. They want children raised. They don't just want fucking
Kids
street
being
urchins.
made.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And so like that's how they would incentivize it, right? They'd say like they'll pay you a straight up salary, just have children, raise them. That's it. We'll pay you salaries.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think in the case of East Asia,
yeah,
they will most likely do that because unlike Western Europe, where obviously technology is not wasn't at the point in the 60s, 70s, and 80s to do certain things,
yeah,
they look towards their former colonies and increased immigration from them. And East Asia is like, well, we don't want that. You know, we want to maintain our homogeneity. Um, but I do think that they will. I think encourage people to have kids through a sort of tax break and payment system. Um, I know certain countries like Russia, for instance, they
yeah,
had they would actually give people days off so that they would encourage getting pregnant and having kids, right? And part of the reason why the war in Ukraine is happening is because the Russian population is declining so quickly that it's either like a now or never thing for Putin. So he's like, if I don't do this now, 5, 10, 20 years from now, it will literally be impossible because there just won't be a large enough population of, creating a military from
yeah.
that's viable for an invasion. So, yeah, it's really interesting to see like what I think in particular East Asian countries will do
Wait, I
in
have a
this
question.
sort of. Yeah, go ahead.
So you guys are implying that they would continue to ramp up the encouragement, right? Like you're saying the stipends, the tax breaks,
Yeah.
income,
Yes,
BI
Yes,
stuff.
they need
definitely.
governments need
So
taxpayers and they need consumers.
Yeah,
would you
and
think
if
they
you look,
continue to do encouragements, or would
yes.
it eventually? Because my whole idea would it be get nationalized eventually, like the
So if you
government just
look
do it.
to countries like Iceland, which has a severe problem of this, they are literally, so they have both tax breaks and stipends. They have incentives such as parental leave, parental sick days, all of those. In addition to that, because they are a very small country, they also offer foreigners that relocates and have children in with an Icelandic mate. They literally offer, I think it's $5,000 per child, as long as they live and raise them on Iceland. So
Jesus.
there are
But
already
that's
countries that
now,
are
and
that is
that's only
now.
going to increase.
Yeah, that is now. So
So
this is already out there.
So the kid to your question about growing people or nationalizing reproduction. I first of all, as to nationalizing reproduction, that can't fly because
Not in a democracy. We'll probably see
even
that in a place like North Korea or China.
even there, that's not gonna fly because like you as a society, right? So you're talking about top down governments, okay? And so from a top down government point of view, they don't just want children, but they want good children. They want well socialized. They want citizens, right? And the only way you get that is by actually raising them, right? And whenever you try to force that thing together, that doesn't really work that well. Uh, I mean, you could
Jack,
just
they
make divorce illegal.
slaves. They want more slaves. So more
Well,
people, more bound into the slave mindset, slave system. When the government are literally paying you to, you're, you're, you're literally. I mean, that's just it's make slaves when
so
they already are.
yes,
Right.
in a sense, yes, but there there's only so much that certain types of people and certain types of the populace can do. So, for example, there is a very good reason that look at every major tech company, startup, anything in Silicon Valley or Austin, how many of those founders, how many of those visionaries came from the south side of Chicago? Right? So, like, you can make people, but that doesn't necessarily forward your goals, right? You can get people to work at McDonald's or whatever, but now you're just doing make work because that doesn't actually add anything of value. There's none of the cashiers at McDonald's are adding anything. At this point, they're literally holding back the kiosks and the AI stuff so that people can have jobs. You don't want more of those people. And I'm not saying this, well, whatever. Take it however you wish. But the fact is that you don't want people who just need something to do. You need people who have vision, who have drive, or at least have a better chance of it. And that pretty much exclusively comes from well-raised kids in a traditional family structure with attentive parents. The idea that
are they only going to offer this to that kind of well-raised kids, or are they blanket offering it? Because they obviously can't.
Well, I think that the goal, if so if I were to come up with this proposal, then the goal would be to maximize the chances of creating those types of people, right? Which means that you incentivize the family staying together. You incentivize staying with your kids. You incentivize taking them to extracurriculars, things like that. Now, if that means you pay the parents a salary that they only get if they stay together, and you can pay them a salary that adds up per kid that they have, great, awesome. You want to cover extracurriculars, you get up to 3 extracurriculars per week that are completely paid for by whatever, right? By government, by corporations. I wouldn't be surprised if you start to see sort of indentured servitude is not how they're going to sell it, but imagine if Amazon says, hey, listen, you're about to take your maternity leave, right? How about this? You keep on the payroll with us, and we'll keep paying you your salary. Don't come to work, but stay home, take care of your kids. We're going to pay for all this stuff. Now, because we want to help you. We want to help you. We want to help you. So we're going to let you go to the very best Amazon brand schools. Your kids are going to go to the best Amazon schools, and then they're going to go to Amazon University, right? Like, you start to create this kind of they had this shit in the 1920s as well, where like it wasn't indentured servitude, but you create like company towns, and that becomes the thing. You live, you breathe, you die Amazon or whatever the company is.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised to see things like that start happening because governments can't afford
there are
that.
Massive problems with it though, right? Because the issue is in the for years, and basically I'd love to see how Asia does it because it'll be interesting. They basically, the poor people who are too lazy to even work, advantage of this system. So the UK government gives them benefits. Kid, these poor lazy ass motherfuckers pop out, right? So they're to just keep popping kids out because then they'll get more money per month from the government. And then now populated with these leeching families popping out, not contributing anything to society.
Well, here's the
love
thing.
to see how
that's going to be the target market for the sex robots, right? Like,
yeah.
I'm not even joking, right? Because if like, so kind of to what the kid was saying earlier about the eugenics, where it's like, if we can target this market and kind of remove them from the gene pool entirely, right? So I'm
sterilization, but I'm not going to go there just as a joke.
Yeah, no, I okay, again, if I were doing this from a top-down government perspective, I would say, okay, we want to incentivize people who are net producers. So basically, people who give more than they take. We want to incentivize them to have more children, to instill these values in their kids. And the people who are net leeches, right? They are not net producers. We want to minimize them. And that, right? Like, what's the easiest way to do that? Well,
Well,
appeal to base instincts, right? Oh, you want quick, easy sex anytime you want on demand? Have a robot. Tell you what, funded by the government, we're happy to give it to you. Yes, we want your happiness. Also, we want you out of the gene pool entirely. That is not an unlikely outcome.
so basically, you got to cut off. Basically, you got to give one side and not to have kids, and then the other side and to have kids.
Yes.
Where both sides are happy, and no one feels, what do you call
No one feels marginalized. No one feels left out. Everybody is getting exactly what they want.
Yeah,
even if it's not what's good for them.
With it. Yeah, you know what? Asia, any country in Asia can get away with it. The woke virus hasn't infected most of Asia, and people won't be like, oh, it's not fair. It's so only the privileged people and blah, blah, blah. I think Asia could easily get away with it, but definitely not the West. There'd be uproar. There'd be like, you know, they wouldn't let it fly. But I'm sure Asia has a solid. Yeah. Who gives a fuck?
Oh wait, I take that back. No, do you know what? I take that back because I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to get into details, but there are political groups whose main focus is let's get as many votes as we can, even if they're just fucking useless people and we hate them all. But if we can get them to just make more people who will always vote for us, that's very possible. That's possible that they might try to push it that direction. Maybe the US becomes the first country in the world to outlaw sex robots. Maybe. But just like with anything else you outlaw, can't get rid of it. And the fact is that the genie's out of the bottle on this thing. And you can create social stigmas against it all day long, but when it becomes ubiquitous, when it just becomes the thing, there's no fighting back against that. There's just, do you try to control the decline or do you just let it go into free fall? Well, on that very happy note, I actually have to head out and get prepared. I'm going up north to go film a show today. So I've got to go ahead and cut this off here, but I very much enjoyed the discussion. And Rich, I'm sorry that you weren't able to join us sooner, but I hope that you'll watch the replay because personally, I think this conversation is very interesting. And we can keep this going in the Discord community. For any of you watching who are not currently in the Discord community, make sure you check it out. If there's not currently a link in the description, sometimes I forget to add those things into the description. You can find it at thesoulplayer.com. On the top of the page, there's a button that says community. It'll link you directly to the Discord chat. You can come and join us there, continue the conversation there, or you can do it down in the comments below, along with Coot, who's been commenting quite a bit all day long, and I very much appreciate it. Good comments, good questions. Once again, for the sake of our favorite AI algorithm, YouTube itself, if you haven't done it yet, hit the little thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button. That way YouTube knows, oh, this guy's fun to watch, or whatever the fuck it is they're looking for. But I hope that you've all have enjoyed this, and I will catch you next time. So, Papa Jack out.